This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff. While Alex is in surgery?
Question
but
mark?
not but not on himself.
No, it's not self-surgery. At least, I mean, we can't fully confirm, but we suspect that Alex is participating in other levels of surgery on other people's.
Yeah, be interesting. Be a cool show.
It would be a show. We would probably get some more YouTube subscribers, some more YouTube likes, and YouTube views if we had Alex live in surgery.
Yeah,
Could be fun. But alas, today is Tuesday, January 28th. We have a Super Bowl matchup set. We expect Taylor Swift to be there.
Oh, we'll know she's there. We'll know when she gets there, what she's wearing, where she's sitting.
Oh, shut up. Quit being a hater.
no, I agree.
Go cut your bows.
I might not come back.
Ever. There's Sam in the background, very excited that she gets to cut more orange ribbons and bows, cut them out, and have an order ready tomorrow afternoon,
At least they're orange.
as opposed to what color, Nate?
Go cadets.
Coke. And last but
Aren't you
certainly not
spoiling
least,
this?
No.
our resident Ohio homer is potentially still upset. We're unsure. We did not talk about this before we started recording, but the man went on a rant over the weekend within 2 weeks of a national championship win. So, in my opinion, all seems right with the world as Ohio State fans are no longer okay in celebrating a national championship.
Yeah, yeah.
Where where are you at right now compared to level 8, 9, 10 that you were at over the weekend, Jim?
Oh, it depends on what the topic is. I would say I'm no less than 7.
Okay. And
Yeah,
it only goes up from there depending on the topic we get into.
yeah.
Nate, you probably keep track of this and potentially Alex, but we don't have Alex here today. What the hell's going on with Sidney Crosby?
You tell me. I saw this note and I'm like, what did I miss?
Apparently, there were a lot of rumors and speculation that he was going to be traded over the weekend. Nothing obviously came to fruition, but there was a lot of like trending on Twitter and speculation by even people like Spit and Chicklets were on
Yeah,
this of what's
yeah.
going
Now
to
that you
happen.
say that, the only thing that I remember seeing was because the Avs were involved and they thought, oh, he's going to go join Nathan McKinnon in Colorado or something. It's like, nah, it's not. He'll go wherever he wants to go.
I agree, but it definitely I think had some Pens fans buttholes puckering up a little bit that said the kid may not be in Pittsburgh. As always, thanks to everybody that's interacting on our content on the socials at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, poke, like, tickle.
Get the bell on.
Ding, ding. Get the bell on. Would you catch you like mid drink?
Maybe.
We will not have a betting episode this week, but we will have the Super Bowl primer here in a couple weeks prior to Super Bowl Sunday. Get into all of the exciting prop bets that will be in there. Jim, do you have any thoughts on any that you are interested in?
I didn't even look. I always love the coin toss, but I don't think I can bet on that. I love the length of the national anthem. That's fun to talk about.
Color of the
Um, the
Gatorade.
the color of the Gatorade is another one. All these ones that I can't bet on, I love like the fact that it's an option. Big fun.
Big fun, all the fun. And as we said, the Super Bowl matchup is set, getting us into NFL Conference Championship weekend, starting first in the NFC as the Eagles get the win 55-23, dominant in this win. And yes, Jim, that is how you spell Eagles if you ask the mayor of Philadelphia.
Well, they're idiots.
Because
I I don't really like Philadelphia. Like
because of the
Like you don't like
fans.
Philadelphia the city, or you don't like the Philadelphia sports fans.
Yeah.
I don't like the sports fans. I've seen some things, I've heard some things. Just not a fan.
I mean, I will agree that they are not the most likable fan base.
They're just not. I mean, I don't think they're like Ohio State level. They are, but they're just their own breed of Ohio State level.
They definitely are something. The Eagles' defense forces 4 turnovers. Their offense gets 200 plus rushing yards and 7 touchdowns.
They're like drunk Ohio State fans. That's what they are.
So they're
That's
fun
the
Ohio
best.
State fans.
No, they're like mean Ohio State fans. They'll fight anybody, and they don't care who they hit. They could hit each other. It'd be fine.
So fun Ohio State fans.
Fun for the outsiders, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, as an observer, I would rather watch that than Ohio State fans just be visceral for with their
sure.
words.
And from your standpoint, all right.
Saquon Barkley with 3 touchdowns. Take that, New York Giants.
Yeah, that was cool. I will give you that.
I feel like every game is just another just knife right into the Giants' hearts, especially since they were documented in the offseason with the Hard Knocks. And, every game just seems like you dummies, you let him go.
You know what bothers me about Saquon?
Go on.
Let me have my moment about Saquon. I want to root for that guy. I think he gets such a bum rap, right? Just terrible, terrible. But Penn State fans, and Penn State fans meaning like the obnoxious ones, and those are rare. But the obnoxious Penn State fans use him as the haha to get at Ohio State fans at this time of year. Like they're like, look now, we're looking at Penn State running back. Ha ha ha. It's like, wait. But other than that, I want to cheer for him. I'm rooting for him the entire time until a Penn State fan opens their mouth.
It has nothing to do with him as a person. It has to do with how people
Yeah.
root for him.
Yes.
Put his success in perspective related to collegiate football.
Yeah. Big angry at that. Other than that, I'm a big fan.
Big angry. Big
Big
angry at that.
angry.
Story of this game for the Commanders was turnovers, and
Man, yeah,
none
they
of
kept getting
them
their own way.
were by Jane Daniels until the end of the game. He threw an interception. But we had Zach Ertz with a fumble. We had Austin Eckler with a fumble. We had an issue on a kickoff return with a fumble. Yeah, as you said, Jim, they just couldn't get out of their own way. Anytime they would make a little bit of a dent, it was like, no, 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 let's screw ourselves over.
Yeah.
Uh, Nate, in the officiating news in this game, we learned that a referee can award a score.
Yeah, I had never heard of that.
But that made sense. I know people were mad about it, but it made sense. The clock kept running.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but
kept resetting the
Philly
clock.
knew what they were doing.
So like,
But at the same time, it's like, okay, we know you're going to score. Just quit dicking around and just get in the end zone.
Yeah, they kept trying to time the snap, and none of them were successful.
but
So
like, at what point are you like, all right, they're in? Like, I agree with the fact that, look, let's just let it happen.
I mean,
Well,
I
that's
think once they
my
got
question.
warned, right? That's whenever they decided, okay,
Yeah.
So, from a betting perspective, then, who gets credited with the score?
that is a fantastic question, Nate. I do not have the answer to that. Um, I gotta imagine it just goes in as like a just points because you can't award anybody the touchdown. Nobody actually crossed the goal line.
Right. Is it like a safety and where they just credit it to the defense? Like, let's say you have an Orlovsky moment where you run out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah,
Like, does it just get credited to the team defense? I don't know.
I think it'd
Or
be credited to the team offense, right? It
right.
would be
Or it's like in hockey, it's like if a guy puts the puck into his net or whatever, it's like the next closest player or whatever is the one that gets credit for it.
Yeah, but this isn't within like the confines of action, right? There was no actual play because these were pre-snap penalties.
Right.
So I don't know because it's not. Yeah, that is. You know what? I feel like that's something we need to do some research on because I never thought about that. I never heard anybody talking about that, but I'm sure it was out there. The discussion is
Well,
there.
I just wondered, like, if, I mean, obviously, they're going to push it there.
Right.
So, like, if Jalen Hurts didn't have any rushing touchdowns and you had him in a bet, would the sports books honor it and, like, do, like, one of those, like, refunds for you?
Oh
You know,
no,
like,
no refunds. Jim, refunds?
or
Yeah.
no, not refunds, but, like, whatever it is. Like, oh, you just don't lose money on your bet or whatever.
Uh,
They do that every once in a while.
it's been a long time since I've seen that. Right?
Like when we first started.
Yeah, there was a push there at the beginning that they were refunding or voiding bets based on like early injuries, and then I figured they just realized that we can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
They hit out bonus bets.
Right, or bonus bets. Yeah, that was the other way.
Well, that's what
Um,
they do now. Is my
right, but they're not
understanding.
necessarily directly related to that bet.
Right. You get, oh, here's a bonus bet down the road.
Right. Yeah, oh yeah, put in a $5+ parlay, and if you lose, you get $10 in bonus bets. Way to
Yeah.
go. But
And
yeah,
I think FanDuel was the last one to like get on the train of that.
I don't know. I haven't been.
I mean, if I remember, like, because I was the one that was dating everybody else, like
That's true.
all the other apps were like bonus bets, and I was like, what is this bonus bet shit? Do what FanDuel does and give me money. So,
Yeah. So Commanders do lose, but I think there's still some reason for optimism. So if we had to go from a 0 to 10, 10 being we think the Commanders can win a Super Bowl in the next 3 to 5 years,
oh, okay, yeah.
how would we rate the future of the Commanders? Nate.
7.
So just outside of that championship mark.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Wagner's getting older, so they're going to have to replace him at some point in then those 3 to 5 years. I think Marshawn Lattimore, I think, is the biggest overrated DB in the league. Um, and then I think they just need to get younger and on defense. I mean, their defensive line that's been there for like the past decade. And credit, they're great, but again, they're not getting any younger. You got young stars on offense now with Daniels, and you've got Eckler if you can keep him there as a nice veteran. Keep Terry McLaurin there, so they've got the pieces there. Just can they keep them all together?
Jim, where'd you put them?
I'm trying to think if I agree or disagree with Nate's. I think seven's probably good. I don't want to be as harsh as Nate was, but I don't think I can disagree with what he said. So yeah, seven. I think it's a good take. I don't like that it has to be that mean, but you think about where the rest of the league is in terms of age and in terms of what they're doing, they do need to get younger. And I think that's where it's at.
I'll give him like an 8, 8.5, slightly more optimistic than you two. And I feel this way because, yes, all the things that Nate said, valid. But let's not forget that they have Jaden Daniels on a rookie deal right now, which means
Right.
that they
And
have the cap space.
I agree with you there. Like, and I thought the same thing, but like, if you, unless I'm missing where their draft picks are, right?
Hmm.
The fact they made it this far is going to hurt them in the draft.
Not worried about draft. With this type of cap space, you can bring in pieces in free agency.
But so can everybody. There's a lot of other teams in that spot right now.
Maybe not with the cap room. That's what I'm saying. That's the cap, and the cap is only going up, which means if they have more cap room than other teams now, and everyone gets that cap jump, they're going to have extra money to spend.
My
That's
Unless
understanding
you're New
is
Orleans.
now, yeah,
my understanding is there's like more there's the cap situation is brighter for some of the better teams. I'm not like you guys who can launch, come at you with facts. I hear there's teams that have cap room and are good teams. So I start ranking where the Commanders fall inside of that, and I'm like, that's why I lean towards Nate. It's like there's seven, because there's other teams out there who have draft position and cap room.
Yeah, but I think now that you've seen what they've done with a rookie quarterback and then Dan Quinn this first year there, I think you're going to want to get free agents that want to go there.
And that's my question. Has the stank of it's the Commanders worn off?
I think now that you've got Dan Snyder out of the picture, you've got a different ownership group in there, you've seen success on the field. I think you're going to get some guys that are going to want to go there to play with Daniels, to play with Terry.
Yeah. I think the fact that your question Muff was 3 to 5 years, I think that also helps. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that next year's the year, but maybe the following.
Yeah, and that 3 to 5 was intentional for me because that third year would be like towards the latter end of Jaden's rookie deal, which means that, that's like the end of that window before theoretically they have to pay him.
Right.
So that 3, I think, is a big deal for
Yeah.
them, that 3-year
Yep.
mark. Yeah, I don't know if they've got it in the next year to two, but I would say that 3 years from now, if they have the pieces there, I think they are truly going to be like competitive. Like people are going to be gunning for next year. But I think they have time to assemble the pieces in the best way possible.
And a lot of it's luck. Like,
Mhm.
look at the Texans who were injury plagued. Like, if the Commanders can stay healthy, that's a huge thing too. So I think it's good stuff.
Final thought I had in this game was just on a specific play where Jalen Carter pretty much open hand punched. I'm going to use it in the best way possible because Jalen Carter is a huge man, and even an open hand slap to an offensive lineman, in this case Tyler Biadasz's face, seemed to do a lot of damage as he was taken off the field for at least a few plays due to injury. This is not the first time I've seen Jalen Carter do this in the in game action, and I'm just curious at what point is he going to get flagged and or fined by the NFL?
I think he'll get fined for this one. You may not see it come up right away. Um, but if this were a regular season, I think you'd even see maybe a heftier fine, if not suspension. But this late in the year, he's just going to get a slap on the wrist and I'm going to move on.
Yeah. Did you see this, Jim?
I did not.
Oh, Nate, if you can find that, send it to Jim because and now in full honesty here, Biotish did put some hands to the face of Carter. I will say Carter just responded back times 10. It was pretty intense. Um, all right, moving on to the AFC, a battle of two, some are saying all-time great quarterbacks in the NFL. One all-time great team as the Chiefs take down the Bills 32-29. With the win, Patrick Mahomes moves into second place alone with 17 postseason wins as a quarterback, passing Joe Montana and only trailing Tom Brady's 35 wins at quarterback. In this one, Josh Allen and the Bills aren't able to enter GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium and come out with the win. Once again, Patrick Mahomes takes down Josh Allen in the playoffs. Before we get into some of the rigged chants and some of the situations that played out in this game, what are some overall thoughts of this game outside of the referees, Jim?
I I don't think Josh Allen's that great. Hot take. I just don't think he's that amazing. Is he good? Yeah. I just don't think he's the be all end all. I don't like Patrick Mahomes. I don't like him because he is so damn good. Well, that was my two takeaways from this game. Travis Kelce was not. I don't think he played to the level that we all are used to in this game. I don't think he's as big a threat as he used to be. I would not be surprised if he's done after this year. Um, but yeah, that's my take. We're not talking about the refs.
Yep. Minus the refs, Nate, what are your thoughts on this game?
Um, someone someday, if they're ever think Buffalo's going to win, someone's got to bail Josh Allen out at some point. Whether it's a turnover, a big catch, a big run, something like he's literally trying to do everything possible. And there's times where he does too fucking much. And he can't help it because he feels like a one man show there. Because I mean, you think you lose Diggs. For a while, you didn't have a running game outside of you. Like I'm sure he had flashbacks to the whole 13-second thing a couple years ago. It's like, what else can he possibly do? I mean, I saw a thing earlier. It's like in the 3 playoff games in Arrowhead, he's like 9 touchdowns and no interceptions, almost 1,000 yards combined. It's like, what more can this guy do to get a win in the playoffs in Arrowhead?
My takeaway from this is somehow the Chiefs continue to find the right positions at the receiver positions to make it work, right? And this is something that the Bills have not been able to figure out, right? They get rid of Diggs. They bring in Shakir was, say the major weapon throughout the season. Obviously, you have Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Mac Hollins was the big receiver for this particular game. But the Chiefs figure out how to put these pieces and use them correctly in the big games, and the Bills can't. They get some contributions here and there, but it's like one-offs. Not that in no way would I ever fault Dalton Kincaid for not making that catch towards the end, but that was an opportunity that you see the Chiefs take advantage of, and team like the Bills flounder, right, at the biggest moment. Josh Allen put it in a spot, and it wasn't the prettiest of throws, but there was an opportunity. And I think that's the big takeaway for me is the Chiefs come up in clutch moments, and teams like the Bills do not. Um,
I, I think that the Chiefs know how to rattle Allen's cage. I think they know how to get in his head. I think that's the difference between the two. Like, you can't rattle Patty Ice. Like, he's just in it. He's out there playing and having fun. And I think Josh Allen is, if you see the way the Chiefs line up the majority of the game, it's like, oh, they're just coming for his skull, and he knows it, and he's a man on fire out there. And so you see him make stupid decisions sometimes, or like not as quality a throw because he feels like I'm on fire, and he's really not. Sometimes it's like you had time to take one breath, and that throw be just a little bit better. And I think that's the thing with him. And like Nate said, like what more can he do? I'm sure that anxiety weighs on him, but like I don't think it's going to get better in Buffalo, man. You keep getting this far. It's not like you're going to get a good draft pick. You are who you are. You got to get some therapy or take some ayahuasca up the ass or some shit. Like, calm down.
Whoa, Jim. Whoa. Crystals go up the bum.
Whatever.
Ayahuasca is inhaled.
Whatever Rogers does.
Also, you're saying that's a formula for success?
Whatever to be as chill as Rogers, I guess.
One thing I will say on gameplay before we get into the referees and some of the calls or lack thereof, is the Chiefs did seem to figure out how to stop the Bills version of the tush push on Josh Allen, which had been successful throughout the season. The Chiefs just said, "We know you're going to go left. We're just going to stack him to the left, and you're going to have to prove us that you're willing to go right." And I don't think in any of those rush options from under center that Allen did anything but go left, and the Chiefs stuffed him pretty
Well,
much every time.
and I am no expert here. The way he does the tush push or the go left thing he does, he kind of folds like a damn accordion. He kind of just bends. And it's like, buddy, just go straight. You are too damn a big white boy to be folding in half. Like, I know it's gonna hurt, but you need this. This is the Super Bowl we're chasing here. Like, go straight. And like you almost want him to be a dumb rookie quarterback. Like you almost want him to be a Will Howard or a Kyle McCord that just you just want him to be stupid and just sacrifice your skull for a second.
So be Anthony Richardson.
You almost want that. You almost want him to be dumb when it's in the clutch moment. But like that one where everybody's like he was over. Sure, he would have been, and like it would have been no doubt if he hadn't folded in half. Just dive. Use your skull.
Use the crown of your helmet as a weapon.
Yes.
Oh, so go against all of the public perception of the safety that's now in the NFL, Jim. You're saying just do it.
In this game, at that moment, you are a battering ram, sir.
All right. Any other thoughts before we get into some of the official action, the referees in this one? All right. So let's start with the big one. The Josh Allen fourth down rush line of scrimmage spot. That now, Nate, you're gonna have to take us through some of the mechanics on this. We
Mhm.
had two officials coming in from either sideline. One was seemed to be in a place to market a first down. The official, I will say, on the near side, at least on on the broadcast, was coming in very demonstratively, waving his hands and seeing that he had the end all be all spot. Which, for those watching on TV, immediately I was like, he's marking it short. The other guy had about an extra third of a yard and was going to mark it as a first down. So, from an official standpoint, who is it? Whoever takes the initiative and says like, "No, I've got it." That's who we go with.
I mean, if you got two guys like that, you want them to come together and discuss it. Like it's almost kind of like in basketball how you play zone, like, but in that situation, no one has a true zone because it's a rush up the middle. But like normally, if the ball comes into your side zone, you would take it over and say, okay, I've got the primary spot. The guy on the far side got the secondary spot on it. But in a quarterback sneak play like that, you're just all in there, like trying to make your best assumption. Like, okay, here's what I saw. But the tricky thing was is no one could see the ball on any of the replays.
Right.
So in that point, you're just going based off of instinct. Like, okay, I think he was here because as soon as he goes in, you lose sight of the ball. And it's not like in high school football where you have a traditional umpire. You have no official in the middle of the field there. Your closest official to that play is 15, 20 yards away.
I have so many questions.
Go, Jim.
And this is I'm gonna go straight logistics first. Um so why not rule it? What is I know you don't have replay data, I'm sorry, but what makes one rule it a first down and let the replay judge it versus not a first down and let the replay judge it? Like if you both don't know, why what call do you automatically go with? Like, why not go first down, let them decide upstairs? Or not first down, let them rule upstairs? Like, which one do you lean to?
So since I don't have the benefit of replay, for me, I'm always going to go on the err on the side of caution and be like, if I'm not sure, I'm not just going to give it.
Okay, fine, cool. Next question. You just said that you want them to meet in the middle and shake it out,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Shake it off.
Yeah. If you have, if you got two wing officials there with two different spots, you need to come together. I mean, it's just like if you have a penalty, like you're not just going to say, oh, well, he threw a flag and so did he, but you may have two different things.
Okay.
Like, you got to come together and discuss.
So this has been my question on not just this call, but multiple calls where like they have a huddle. And this is going to get maybe offensive. And if we end up fighting, I'm sorry. When you have a personality, like let's throw Muff out of this context, because we all know that he and I can argue all day long. Let's take me and Alex.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
We meet in the middle. My personality is demonstrative and aggressive and tends to be overbearing. Alex is more go with the flow. I'm probably going to win. Does that happen a lot? Like where the overbearing ref wins?
There's times where you almost go with the guy who has the most seniority in a way. Like I've
Okay.
been doing this like what was this? This is year 7 for me in high school football. And even in regular season games this year, I've had veteran officials where I've worked even under varsity games, like middle school or whatever. Like they'll have one thing, I have another. We'll be talking about it. It's like we don't have the time, and nor do we want to sit here and discuss this, that, or the other. We're just going to go with what you had. And then at the end of the day, it's referee's discretion on the game. So if he has two different opinions, he'll ask his crew, "What did you see? What did you see?" And if no one else has whatever, he's going to say, "All right, we're going to go with that."
So like you decide, you both can't decide, then the ref makes the call.
Yeah, the white hat would make the call.
Okay. So let's say that this is from your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Your 7 years, you go across the field, there's a guy that's got 12 years. Your propensity is to lean towards the 12-year guy?
If we can't get it, if me and the 12-year guy are button heads over it and whatever, like if we're both on the same level, like discussing it, then that's where the referee will kind of come in. But if the other guy comes in and is like, "No, I have this, blah, blah, blah," I'm like, I'm not going to waste the time and slow the game down. I'll be like, you know what? If you want to die on that hill, we're going to go.
But what if it's like the state semis or the state championship? Are you more willing to state your case, or you defer to experience?
I mean, if it's a bigger game like that, you want to get the call right 100% of the time, which you do every time. But in a game of that magnitude, especially if it's a close game, you for sure want to do your best to get it right. And I'm going to say, look, this is what I have. I'm going to give you everything I've got. And then again, the white hat, that's what he's the white hat for.
You kick it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like our white hat this year, oddly enough, was a Bills fan. I'll be like, "Eric, look, this is what I've got. I've got holding on this guy or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Or I have the spot here. And Dave over there's got the spot here. And Shane saw this or whatever." And then he's got to take all that information and make whatever he deems is the correct call.
So then, with all the information I just gathered from Nate, I would assume that occurred, and then they kick it to replay.
I was going to be replayed
because
either way.
it was a fourth down play, so it was gonna. And when they rolled it up short, it automatically got replayed because it was a turnover. But like Muff was just about to say, it was going to get replayed no matter what, because how close it was.
Yeah.
I would like to know if that convo happened before the replay, because if it didn't, then I'm on the side of like conspiracy. But if there was a humanistic conversation of the people on the field and a replay conversation,
yeah,
and I don't mean like,
I mean,
they didn't talk.
Yeah, they didn't do a really good job on the broadcast side of showing that, whether they did or not. But I know from experience, when we have close plays like that, you're going to have 2, 3, sometimes even 4 guys come together. Yeah. Be like, what do we have? And even if we don't all come and meet in one spot, that's why we're all radioed up. And you could have 2 or 3 guys talking about it. And the guys that are on the sideline stay there if they have to. And one of them will keep their microphone open and be able to hear everything that's going on and give it to the coach while we're discussing it.
Yeah. I think that's one thing we miss a little bit with these earpiece communications is we're, traditionally used to seeing a huddle.
Right.
In a discussion where now you don't have to have 3 people standing around each other having a conversation. They can be all in their earpiece and saying, "Hey, I've got it this way. He came in about a third of a yard in front of me. I feel like I had a really good beat on this. I'm going to mark it here." And then, as Nate would say,
well, in those kind of situations, though, you do want to come together. But if you've got something like potentially, like, let's say I have a receiver lined up off sides, or I've got a guy jumping in the neutral zone at the snap, that's when you would come in and go on the radio and give a preliminary. But when you got something that's that tight, you want to come together. Yeah. You don't want to see guys across the field with their hands back on their hip like this and just talking to each other.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just wondering if maybe they rely on that at times whenever they would go the other way.
See, after this conversation, I feel like the refs are more vindicated. And I know Nate's a ref. I get it. But, like, I feel like the call was a good call. That's just from this combo.
Just from my perspective, watching the game, whatever was called on the field was what it was going to be. Right? There was no way to make a change.
They weren't overturning it.
Right. If it was marked a first down, we weren't coming backwards. If it wasn't marked a first down, we weren't going forwards.
No, I mean, in every angle we saw, you never saw the ball. And that's always the thing. It's like, can you see the ball to know exactly where it is? Like, they weren't going to make their assumption, oh, well, his shoulder's here. He tucked the ball in like this. The ball's got to be there.
Yeah.
The only way in situations like that we're ever going to know is if there's like a chip in the ball and then stuff on the field.
I think we should be doing that anyway.
Well, and that's everybody's thing on social media now. It's like, how do we not already have this and blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, tennis has the replay system where they can tell if the ball touched the line when it
Right.
gets smacked off the racket at hundreds of miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's like there's going to be enough uproar in that it's something's going to come down the line. Like they're already talking about getting rid of the traditional chains where they want to go to digital.
Right.
Well, they're going to have to do something.
Yeah, that was something before the season started. They were
right.
in the lab on it.
And we already have the pylon cams.
Right.
Whatever. Yep. Something we didn't have, even 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're making the advancements there. It's just they can't do it overnight as much as everybody wants it to happen. But because then that's going to be the thing, too. It's like, okay, you put the chip in the ball. What happens when you get a soaking rain game in Florida or you get a game in Buffalo, Kansas City, New England where it's below zero?
They're calling timeouts because the chip's not working.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and like the ground's hard as a rock, and somebody smashes
and Gronk spikes the ball,
right?
Right.
Ball.
Yeah. So no, it's all good. Another play that I know Jim had some thoughts on was after a Chiefs touchdown. I believe it was Xavier Worthy touchdown. Travis Kelce was all up in some people's grill. No taunting was called, and then a Bills player, I don't remember which Bills player, came over and definitely gave him a little old nudge like, nope, you're done talking. And the Bills player is the one that got the late flag.
Yeah, I just don't like, again, if we're going to talk about the referees, I feel as though the Mahomes and Kelce know how to play that game. Like, Kelce knew what he was doing and knew how to get that flag. And I think Kelce should have gone down for something. Like,
yeah, you could have easily had offsetting there.
Yeah. I thought that was ridiculous.
That's what even like we try to do, like not just every time, but like for me, and I think it's kind of like a crew philosophy too. Like if you can get both guys, you get both guys, because it kind of sends a message to both teams. Look, we're not putting up with this chicken shit.
Yeah.
Now, like if a guy comes over there and gives like a good 2-hand shove, yeah, you're probably just gonna get the one guy. But like if they're both like bickering or give each other a little shove or whatever. Like we even had that in the state championship game, like late in the first quarter, like both teams are like pushing off each other to get up and whatever. And it was a rivalry game. We knew that going in. But finally, our referee had enough and threw a flag, goes, I've had enough of this shit. He just goes, I'm not even giving it to either player or whatever. I'm just giving it to both teams.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah. And then he's like, he called it up, like instead of saying, oh, personal foul defense, number 53, whatever, he goes, personal foul defense, personal foul offense, offset, and both teams kind of got the message. Okay, we just need to shut up and play football.
Yeah.
It's like a team warning, right?
Yeah.
It's like a sideline warning or something like that. It's like, all right, everybody's on notice. Next time, only the team that starts it's definitely getting it.
Yeah, because then after a while, what you can do is you just start sending guys out. Yeah. And then the kids get ticked and the coaches get ticked and they want to know, well, how come you're sending my guy out? It's like, we sent his guy out too. Yeah. It's like, you want your kids to keep playing in this game. I don't give a shit if he's the all-state lineman or the starting quarterback or whatever. If he can't get his shit right, he's going to go to the sideline and you're going to cool off and then send him back in.
Love it.
And the last call, definitely an interesting one. And the more I watched replays of this simultaneous catch to the ground where the ball sort of hit the ground, but it didn't seem to impact the catch, at least according to the replay officials. I don't even remember who this was intended for, but where the Bills player definitely had it. It seemed going to the ground. The Chiefs player grabbed around the ball. Once they hit the ground, the Chiefs player seemed to have possession, and that's how it was called, right? Chiefs catch. It was not ruled anything else aside from a Chiefs catch. So, Nate, kind of take us through some of the mechanics of consideration in this play.
So we actually had one of these simultaneous catches this year. It's the same thing like in baseball, like tie goes to the runner, simultaneous possession goes to the offense. But in that situation, when I watched it live, I'm like, okay, I can see the simultaneous possession until you grant it to the offensive player. And then, like you said, when you watch the replay, the ball definitely hit the ground, but I think they even said it on the broadcast, like it didn't move. So that's where I think, all kind of got lost in the shuffle. Was, oh, just because the ball touches the ground, we're like, oh, incomplete. So I think the guy, I don't remember what receiver it was or what DB it was, had the ball pinned on their hand or on their body, whatever, and the tip of the ball touches the ground, but that sucker didn't move.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. I definitely like. I didn't see that hitting the ground until like the second or third replay. It probably called attention to it. But I do agree it didn't move.
mm-hmm,
I was just more of like it. The more I watched it, the less I thought it was simultaneous possession
mm-hmm,
going to the ground. I thought the Bills had it, and it wasn't until after they hit the ground that the
mm-hmm.
Chiefs player had what I would call simultaneous possession with him.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like, yeah, we can go and watch all this on replay and slow it down. You only get one chance to watch it live, and it's going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Like that's like, I think for us, and luckily it wasn't in my coverage area, but like the hardest play I think we had all year was on a punt in a playoff game, like the opening round in Ohio, where a team punted the ball down towards the pylon and it bounced on like the 2 or the 3 yard line and then went out of bounds. And the question was, okay, did it go over the pylon and out of bounds for a touchback, or did it go out of bounds early? And again, we don't have replay, and you don't have anybody that's standing on that pylon there to see it like up close and personal.
yeah,
So you've got to make a decision on the fly.
yeah, yeah. Jim, what were your thoughts? Did you have anything with this one? It was just an interesting
I
call
mean,
in the
I
game.
saw it and I was just like, I didn't want to be the refs for that one because that
Yeah,
one was hard.
yeah, it was. Yeah, like I said, the more I saw it, the more my thoughts changed, which to me is never good. If you're in a situation where you're trying to make a decision, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
And I think if even in the Super Bowl, I think the refs need to be more aware that like you're gonna get this kind of shit because the Chiefs narrative is out there. And so like plays like Kelsey baiting you and the flop earlier in the season from Mahomes, like if you have an opportunity to call it down the line and you can burn both people, do it. So that when you get a tough call like this double catch, it's you can make a close call and not get shit for it.
Right. Yeah, this is like, it doesn't matter what you do, somebody's going to be upset about that call,
Right.
right? But you control the controllables in this case.
Yep.
Yep. Anything else on this game?
No, I mean it is what it is.
Yep. The Bills may have lost, but Bills Mafia continues, in my mind, to be a beacon of hope in the fanatical world that is the sports, that is sports. They came together to donate a significant amount of money to a type 1 diabetes cause championed by Mark Andrews after last week's untimely drop. This is not the first time Bills Mafia has come to the rescue, and I feel like if there's anything we can find in the darkness that is the Bills' storied history of losing in big time games, they at least can bring us this.
And you gotta love that fan base.
Yeah. Like for all the things that people may not like about them, you can't be on the bad side of this take.
Right.
Just get him a damn Super Bowl.
That's it. Um, let's just very quickly, right? We've got an Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. What's one thing we're interested about this game before we get in next week, which we'll do a little bit more of a more detailed breakdown with everybody. What's one thing you're interested about this game, Nate?
Is Saquon still going to be doing Saquon things on the big stage?
Okay, Jim?
How much will the other Kelsey brother be involved?
Good thought there. I am interested to see what a game between these two teams, traditionally playing in cold weather at this time, will look like on a fast track.
Well, when they
Yeah.
played each other a few years ago in the Super Bowl, where was that one at?
I don't remember, it was 3 years ago, right? I mean, there's a lot of discussion now. Let's go back to the Eagles real quick. Nick Sirianni, elite head coach. This is
Unless you
two.
ask
This is
fan.
2 in 4 years. Would you say, Nate?
I say, unless you ask his fan base, they always want his head.
Right, and this is the thing. This is like Jim. I feel like this is the most relatable thing for the Ohio State fan base. Granted, he hasn't won the championship, but continues to get them to the highest level. Right, the fan base will turn on him in an absolute dime in a second. But when you look at the big picture, he's doing pretty good. I know at the beginning of the season, that fan base wanted his head on a platter, and we don't hear much in the good times for Nick Sirianni, but we hear all the things in
No.
the bad times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, what are our thoughts? Nick Sirianni, do we think he's, I'm not going to say elite. We'll go away from the elite category, but do we think he currently is a top five head coach in the NFL?
based on results.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on results, I don't think we can argue against it. But if you listen to the Philadelphia fans, you would think he was a bottom five head coach.
Oh no, no, not at all.
All right. Speaking of head coaches, we have most of the openings filled at this point, and we'll start out with the one that Nate may have the most to say, and that's Jacksonville hiring now former Bucks offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. Nate, I want you to take us through from your perspective how all of this went down and where your thoughts, feelings, and sentiments were throughout.
Liam Cohen's a little bitch, is what it is. I mean, he was the first year coordinator with the
Hey,
Bucks.
Nate,
Yeah.
if you're gonna say crazy shit like that,
hmm
you feed those kind of lines to me. I'm the guy who says that.
This is near and dear to Nate's heart, Jim. This is his time to let the hate out.
That was wild.
So first year with the Bucks, had a great season offensively. Baker probably had his best season he's ever had as a pro, even with Godwin breaking his leg midway through the year, and some other unproven guys. Mike still got his 1,000 yards, and things were looking good. Won the division again, and then his name comes up in this Jacksonville thing. And at first, I'm like, he's only been a coordinator between here and LA like 2 or 3 years. I mean, granted, he's had a lot of success, but it's like, I think I would want to see a little bit more. So then he goes, interviews, and then it comes out, okay, I'm going to take my name out of the running for this because apparently Tampa Bay offered him the most money to be the coordinator. I'm like, shit, they have a real lot of confidence in this guy. But if he can do it with Baker, he can do it with anybody based on what we've seen from Baker in the past. And then all of a sudden, he goes MIA. And the Jags fire their GM. And they go, oh, we can't get a hold of Liam Cohen. Like, no, well, I wonder why. So apparently he ghosted the Bucks for hours while he's in Jacksonville talking to Shah Khan. And it's like, oh, yeah, I'll come be your head coach. And then later he texted Bowles, apparently, who already knew where he was by then, and says, oh, I'm back in Jacksonville.
And that was hours, right? It wasn't a day.
From what I read and what I saw reported is that it was upwards to a day. Like they were trying to get a hold of him all day. He wasn't returning calls. He wasn't returning texts. His representation, his agent wasn't getting back to the team. And then finally later on, like they said, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, he finally reached out to Todd Bowles and said, oh, I'm in Jacksonville. I'm going to take the Jags job.
And
Like,
did they have an offer?
Yeah, they were going to offer him. I don't remember what the money was, but they were going to offer to make him like the highest paid coordinator in the league.
Right.
And at that point, it's like, if you're having second doubts, like just come out and say so. Don't run behind your screen of your phone and put everybody on silent just to come back and say, oh, I'm actually over here negotiating a deal to become the head coach here. It's like, just be upfront about it. Like, we've already gone through 3 coordinators in 3 years. Now it's going to be 4 and 4. So it's nothing we're not used to. But I think it speaks more about Liam Cohen as an individual than it does about the Bucs' ability to go out and find a new coordinator.
Yeah. I think it speaks a little bit to what Jacksonville was willing to do to get him there, because it seemed like the sticking point was Jacksonville's GM.
Yeah, that's a part of the story that is.
Well, yeah, from what I also saw too, it was like Liam apparently didn't like the GM, and they were like, fine, we'll get rid of the GM if you'll come be the coach, and we'll let you have a say in who we hire as the GM.
Well, to put a little context to that, Shad fires the coach, and they said, what about the GM? Like in the press conference with the GM sitting there.
Yeah.
And he says, Well, depending on the coach situation, we'd be willing to look at that too. Like we like the guy, we'll stick with him. But if we get the coach we want, he could be gone too. Which to me is insane. Like that guy cannot feel good about his job when he's saying, "Yeah, I'll get rid of him."
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but apparently they were scheduled to bring in Robert Saleh like that same day, and Saleh basically got ghosted by the Jags because they were so gung ho on Liam Cohen. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's been a coordinator and he's got a little bit of playoff experience. Meanwhile, you have Robert Saleh, who, granted, it didn't work out well in New York, but then he also led a Super Bowl contending defense for years. And he's on his way down on a plane right now, but you're like, no, let's go get this guy down the state.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole shit show between Liam Cohen ghosting the Bucks and the way Shah Khan went about Cannon as GM, and then basically telling Saleh why he's on a plane on the way down there. I know you can reroute and go wherever you want.
Jacksonville. Soap opera. We got a soap opera in Jacksonville, Jim.
Yeah.
Sports entertainment at its
Man,
peak.
there's another thing I should read up on.
What?
Wild. The Khan family.
The Khan situation, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. So, Nate, we'll see who the Bucks get as their offensive coordinator because that has not been decided yet, correct?
No, I saw some posts there like, oh, we've completed a virtual interview with this guy and that guy and that guy. I'm sure they'll go through a few more, but I don't think they need to rush it.
Yeah. Vegas, we have a new head coach in Vegas, and it is the oldest head coach in NFL history, Pete Carroll. How do you feel about Pete Carroll in Las Vegas, Jim?
I don't know an available coach. Big asterisk right there. That would fit Las Vegas better than Pete Carroll. Now, if Lane Kiffin was open, that'd be your guy. But Pete Carroll is a good second for Las Vegas.
Nate, how do you feel about Pete Carroll for the Raiders?
I just don't see the short-term success that they're going to want. Like, okay, Pete Carroll has the pedigree. He's won a national championship in college. He's won a Super Bowl in the NFL. It's like he's 70-some years old. It's like you have so many holes to fill. It's like I just don't see how this is going to work. Like I see this whole Las Vegas rebuild being at least a 4 to 5 year thing, and by that point, Carroll's going to be close to 80. I mean, granted, he looks younger than his age and he acts younger and everything like that, but it's like, do we think he's really going to be around for the long haul?
Yeah, the first thing I think of when Pete Carroll comes in, right? This is a culture move.
Mm-hmm.
Like Pete Carroll's gonna he knows what he wants in the culture of an organization. He's gonna achieve that. He's a player's coach. I think he's worth maybe 2 extra wins a season. My only concern is that only gets him to about 6 wins in a season, right?
Yeah,
They,
because
as
they're in
you
a hell
said,
of a division.
right, they're in a good division. They don't have a quarterback. They don't really have a high profile running back. Their best receiver was a rookie tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the defense. You've got Max Crosby, but even now he's starting to get, a little like, come on, Vegas. I'm here and we're wasting the best years of my career.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. Jim, final thoughts?
No, I'm good, buddy.
All right. Nothing new. We had New England, Mike Vrabel going there. We've talked about that. Chicago gets Ben Johnson, Detroit's former offensive coordinator. Is that new discussion? We talked about that last week.
We talked about that last week, I think.
All right. We did not talk about this as Brian Schottenheimer becomes the Dallas Cowboys head coach. Probably, I would say, the most interesting move, controversial, unexpected.
I would say unexpected. I think it was Alex Smith on NFL Countdown. He's like, you have all these other guys that are making their rounds, getting interviewed. Meanwhile, Dallas doesn't even really look outside, but they'll just hand it to this guy because he's been there and he's Marty's kid. It's like I didn't realize that Brian Schottenheimer had never really done anything more than be an OC. but it's like you have all these other guys out there that the rest of the league is like, oh yeah, these are gonna be the next big guys. Meanwhile, Jerry doesn't even bring anybody in.
Yeah. It almost seemed like Jerry wanted somebody, I don't want to say to put his thumb on, but he knew that he had some level of control over. And it's like somebody who didn't expect an opportunity is going to be more apt to listen to Jerry and maybe cave to his will as opposed
Mhm.
to some of these other options that were out
Mhm.
there.
Well, and that's the narrative they're pushing on Countdown too. He's like Jerry, no matter what, is like it's always over your shoulder. It's like as a player, it's like, yeah, you can listen to your coach and have all the faith in it, but it's like you've got Jerry always looking over your shoulder. It's like they talk about how at the practice facility they have all these office spaces and people are going on tours, and it's like, oh look, oh there goes Dak walking down the hallway right next to me. It's like Jerry needs to quit treating it like a damn zoo.
I, Jim,
Brilliant. I I don't know what else to say. Like Nate is on fire today.
he's got going. He's got it going. And last, the last of the filled positions, we have Detroit's defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, headed to the Jets.
I feel bad for the Lions. I mean,
Because they lost JT Barrett too.
they're just getting pillaged.
I mean, this is what happens, right? This you expect this at some point with that level of success, especially in the NFL, right? People are going to come for these people. There's only so many head coaching jobs in the NFL. The opportunity to have one of those jobs is something that you typically take when it's offered to you. How do we feel about the fit with Aaron Glenn in New York, Jim?
It's weird. It's a weird fit. But like if he makes it his own, maybe that's what New York needs.
I didn't realize that he played for them.
Yeah, what is there? There's like a degree or two of separation between Pete Carroll and Aaron Glenn in the Jets or something.
Yeah, they said like Aaron Glenn was a first round pick and played DB for them, which I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting how you're right. We're bringing in another defensive minded head coach, right? We got rid of Robert Saleh. Now we bring in somebody with a similar pedigree from the defensive side of the ball in a team that's been successful over the past two seasons. In this case, Aaron Glenn coming from an absolutely ravaged defensive unit in Detroit that was just behind the eight ball from the time Aiden Hutchinson went down. So I think it's going to be interesting if Aaron Glenn builds the defensive back up where Robert Saleh kind of had it, and what their overall team philosophy is in on offense, whether that's running the ball, what are they going to do if we're going to bring back Aaron Rodgers? Like, what's the deal? I think it's going to be interesting off season for the Jets, as it usually typically is. And I'm really interested to hear what Mike Greenberg has to think.
I think the whole get an offensive coach kind of has cursed them ever since they had Adam Gase.
Oof. Talk about an interesting opening presser. Which leaves the only team with an unfilled head coaching vacancy, the New Orleans Saints. Right now, the big names coming up are Kellen Moore, current Eagles offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. Um, what? Never mind. Reportedly withdrew his name from the Saints' consideration. The Bills' offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, the Ravens' offensive coordinator, Mike McCarthy, and Ron Rivera. My thought is, since it's an unfilled role, Kellen Moore is who they're eyeing.
I saw something earlier that said that they're flying there tonight to interview him tomorrow.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got an extra week, so he can probably take a day at this point. Um, yeah. Any other thoughts? Do we think anybody else is a front runner for this?
I saw something too that said they were talking to Mike McCarthy and it did not go well. Like the two sides were very far apart. Um, but as I mentioned earlier, the Saints are in such a cap hell right now. Like,
Yeah.
that's one job. It's like, yeah, you're gonna have a great fan base there and potentially in a wide open division. But it's like you are in such cap hell right now. It's like trying to get people to come there, fill that roster. It's like that one is one that I think of all the openings I would not want.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to hope that you're, as a head coach coming in, you're going to have a little bit of grace, and somebody that you hope is going to be able to work with the GM, right?
Yeah,
To find a path through this.
yeah, because I mean they got a couple guys there that but they're with big contracts. Like Derek Carr's hasn't lived up to that contract. You got Alvin Kamara, who I think signed an extension. Cam Jordan's got a big cap hit. Um, but again, they've got a couple guys there, but still, that just seems like such a bad situation. And of course, I can say it as a Bucks fan, but I mean, trying not to be biased about it. Like looking at all these, other than Dallas, that's the last place I would want to go.
Yeah. And lastly, we have a reunion as Robert Saleh is headed back to San Francisco to be the defensive coordinator. With this move, should we be keeping San Francisco on our radar as a team that can come back and be competitive next year?
I think they got to worry more about their offense right now.
Yeah.
Fair. Moving past that. All right. We don't have any college football games to chat about, but our text messages were more than full with some college football thoughts over the weekend.
Yeah,
Jim,
sure. Mm-hmm,
Jim,
mm-hmm.
Jim, before we get into this,
Yeah.
I have to share just because he's been an engaged listener, an engaged communicator, and somebody that's been in our DMs. Loyal listener, former guest Tyler, fellow Ohio State fan, but I think you two come from two different walks of life in Ohio State fandom.
Sure.
Offered the following on Ryan Day's end of Michigan game picture. Used it as the backdrop, where he seemed to be looking past Jack Sawyer and an assistant coach. He offered this, and I quote, "Ryan Day's villain arc started at this moment," referencing the picture. He wasn't doing nothing. He was taking in the hardest moment of his coaching career and plotting the best four game run in school history. 2024 will hang in an Ohio Stadium forever. Sorry, Jim. End quote. I feel like you two have very differing thoughts on that
Do you want
moment.
me to respond to that?
You can respond. That's up to you. I just wanted to share that for you to respond or to leave that in the past. Up to
I
you.
feel like that's very sunshine, rainbows, hindsight 2020. That's a wonderful take. And I think that's a very revisionist history. That's what a lot of people in Columbus are doing. That's great. But in that moment, he was letting one of his players manhandle one of his staff. And if you watch what that same player, who I have mad love for, has done since then, he has been a bully during the Tennessee game. He was a bully during the Oregon game, like before the Oregon game. He kind of was a jerk. Then he got the scoop and score, and he became a legend in Ohio State. Again, love the guy. And then Ryan Day has been like basically adopted him as a son,
Mhm.
which is fine. I get it. Things have come out about the awful shit, god awful shit that the Day family has been through.
Yeah.
And I am in no way condoning any of the shit his family, himself, the things that have been said to him have since any of the Michigan losses. Never been my problem.
Correct.
The losing to Michigan has never been my issue. He stood there and did
Well, I'm not going to say it's never been an
correct.
issue.
You're right.
I'm going to say that in this particular Michigan loss, you were
And
more
this loss is not my issue.
right. I will go there. You definitely have an issue with losing to Michigan.
Correct. That is the bane of my existence. However, my biggest problem is you stood there and went, "What happened?" That is my problem.
Yes. That is your overwhelming issue with this year's loss.
Yes.
And aside from the loss itself, it
Yes.
was the response.
Oh, sticks in my craw.
All right. Moving on, Tyler, feel free to respond in kind if you'd like to after listening. Um, Speaking of things that I don't know how much they're still sticking in Jim's craw, crawled up his buttocks and have laid there and
This
festered
is
over the weekend. I'm not sure what, just for all listeners to know, I have yet to revisit this since Jim had a lot to say over the weekend. So we're just going to see where this goes. Jim Knowles is joining the Penn State coaching staff as its defensive coordinator, coming over from Ohio State, where he will become the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football. I haven't seen this formally, but I've seen the reports of averaging about a little over $3 million over a 3-year period. So, Jim, I will let you begin your thoughts on Jim Knowles, and I'm not sure where else this is going to go.
Let's just start off from the rip. Because your next note is about Jeremiah Smith and Tate, the other receiver. The two receivers, the note came out that the two receivers were being offered millions of dollars to enter the transfer portal. They were being procured by the likes of Notre Dame and Penn State. Those were the two big schools that were trying to get our top receivers to the portal. And so there was fear in Columbus that that might happen. Then there was worry that Knowles, too, was headed for another university. Okay?
And perspective, both Notre Dame and Penn State looking for defensive coordinators at this point, if we're going to use those two as examples.
At this point, no, we're not using examples. Those were the two schools that were trying to cherry pick the defensive coordinator and the top two receivers.
Reportedly.
Right. Those were the names.
We can definitely probably point to stuff about defensive coordinator. We're never going to probably hear a formal report on the players.
Not formally, right.
Right.
Well, it depends on your definition of formal, but whatever. The players thing was squashed, or we believe it was squashed. I know it was squashed for Tate.
Right.
When the agents for the players came out and said, not going to happen. Okay. Cool. So the last one to come out was that we needed to come out was Knowles. The Twitter sphere said that Knowles met with the players and said he's coming back. Cool. The celebration in Ohio State Stadium, Knowles did not show up. Ryan Day's face was, for a celebration, he's sitting there on the stage and he does not appear to be having a celebration. Now, he cheered walking in when he was having the jubilation with the fans, but he was pondering something on the stage.
Okay.
And to the point where, like, even my dad was like, you don't look happy. Okay. And of course, the Big Ten Network can't cut out for some stupid reason, told us we had to go to the Fox app, so we stopped watching that. But I drive home only to see that Knowles is reportedly leaving for $3.2 million to go to be a lateral move to Penn State. Just so we're clear, this whole spiel of the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football, we were offering him the same thing. The same deal was on the table. So this horse shit of he moved for the money, no. We were keeping Jimmy Knowles. He didn't move for money. Why he moved, we may never know. But the traitorous bastard.
He's coming back home, Jim. He's from PA.
Sure, if that's the cheap ass
born in Philadelphia,
we're going to use to go to the traitorous bastard team that can't beat us, so they paid to get in with us. Yeah, I'm mad. The story that I've heard, the only viable thing that I've heard so far, and this is the narrative coming straight from Columbus, not any reputable source.
So nothing in Columbus is reputable now.
Wow, this is the fandom sphere.
It's a potentially a biased report.
Yeah, is that after the Oregon game, Ryan Day had a conversation with the defensive staff,
mm-hmm.
and a conversation was had that this shit's got to change or you're gonna go. We have to stop giving up the big plays.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation was had because there were whispers in Ryan Day's ear from other defensive staff members. And that Jimmy Knowles did not want to let go of the reins and make changes But Ryan Day put a gun to his head and was like, "You're gonna change or else." And Jimmy Knowles made the changes and didn't have complete tight reins on his defense anymore. And then they made those changes, and look what happens. And Jimmy Knowles doesn't like that setup anymore. So he's
That's the
gone.
Columbus spin.
That is the spin.
I mean, whether it's spin or whether it's truth, we will probably never know fully. Um, what I heard, when I say heard, I saw this in a couple different spots, and this is also Twitter reporting. So again, take it with a grain of salt. I will say this is not from Penn State fandom. This was from like general people that I've seen report on college football news, is that um, there was the understanding, or at least the awareness, that Jim Knowles was potentially willing to have conversations with others, whether that was Penn State at the time or not. And because he had not signed whatever deal Ohio State was offering, he was told not to attend the championship celebration until he either signed or wouldn't be there if he was gone. So that's what I heard, is he was not there because he had not agreed to be part of that. And the same report, they mentioned that he had had a contentious relationship with, they didn't explicitly say Ryan Day, they said with other Ohio State staff.
The
So
contentious relationship part,
it kind of that intersects and adds up.
yeah. I can tell you that on my side, this is the part where like I don't buy.
Mhm.
He I was told that he reached out to Penn State, that they didn't reach out to him. I
So
don't I don't
you,
buy that.
is that where the you don't buy that?
I don't buy that.
I whatever.
I
I
think
don't
that
know.
like
I
leans
don't
towards
know.
the contentious. My take, my opinions from gathering all of the Twitter sphere and all of the BS is there was an issue there.
Hmm.
The safeties coach learned under Jim Knowles.
Okay.
The safeties coach got a lot of praise from Ryan Day during the celebration.
Okay.
Laurinaitis also got some say from some praise from Ryan Day. I think those two characters may have been the ones that were in Ryan Day's ear going, Jim's not budging on some things. We do need to make some changes, and gave Ryan Day the courage to go to Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles didn't like being interfered with and didn't trust the other two characters because he was interfered with and wanted out because he didn't have complete control. And then those changes kind of paid off, and Day kind of leaned on the other guys more.
Well,
And
welcome,
I
Jim.
think,
Welcome, Jim, to Happy Valley.
and what I think
Come
will
on in.
happen
The
is
water's
our
fine.
defensive coordinator position will come from within.
I mean, I would expect it to be so at this point. Um, Nate, you were a observer. I'm not going to say how casual or not casual you were to the text messages that were flying back and forth. Can you give us a little bit of a recap of what you felt Jim's thoughts were at the time, and what the prevailing sentiment opinion you got from this exchange on Sunday? Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
Jim believes that Mr. Knowles is a greedy bastard.
Greedy, traitorous bastard, yes.
Cheers, bastard. Uh, Jim, I believe, and this is why I'm like, I understand there's a lot enveloped into this conversation. You had the initial thought of that's fine. I mean, initially when we talked about this last week, that we didn't even know who, potentially where. You were like, I don't care, doesn't matter to me.
Everybody's
Uh,
replaceable.
Everybody's replaceable. It's okay. It's Ohio State. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
That's me paraphrasing,
sure.
obviously.
I think it's a
Uh,
good take.
and then this happened, and again, I think this is all in
Yeah, you're
kind of
fine.
there's accumulation of what was happening potentially with the receivers, the offers,
Yeah,
finding out who potentially these teams were that were in this
yeah.
situation, and then you became very agitated at the entire situation,
Oh, yeah.
to the point where you said, "Don't care, can't beat Michigan, get them out of here."
Yes.
My counter just towards that opinion, not towards your overall thought in this, because I understand why you're agitated and upset, is if you would like to get rid of any third or fourth year Ohio State players and would like to ship them over to Happy Valley, feel free. You can also give us Chip Kelly and anybody that's been on the coaching staff. We will happily welcome them because apparently Penn State is opening up the war chest, buddy.
Well,
And
see, here's the thing, Muff. Right? You had one of our players,
one, Julian Fleming, who did
so
nothing.
you need some more of ours. I get it because
He
you
did
can't do
nothing.
it.
He was a receiver, Jim, and we've talked about the receiver issues that Penn State had this year.
Yeah, you can't do anything with receivers because you don't have a quarterback to get the ball to them.
That's inaccurate, but
Right.
go on.
And like, let's be real for a hot second. Let's try to like tone down the room for a minute. Just a minute. I'm only going to do this for a second. Jim Knowles, his system takes at least 2 to 3 years to get like honed in right. So like next year, I hope you don't think you're going to be like barn burning, knocking down doors with your defense.
The talent's there, buddy. You just lost how much? I mean,
That's great. I still contend.
This is realistic thought. I understand where you're coming from. If you're saying there's a system that has to be implemented, my question for Ohio State next year, and I don't know
We're
if
not talking about Ohio State. We're talking about Penn State. Stay on topic.
No, I'm rerouting this back to Jim Knowles' decision. Aside Caleb Downs, who do you have coming back that we would say is a first round talent in the defensive side of the ball? Yeah.
I'm not. We don't have. This is all reloading. You're
right.
Not, you got me.
No, and that's just the real situation. There is the thought amongst potential draft experts, even though Abdul Carter's leaving, Penn State has other first round talent, multiple potentially first, second round talent players on that defense. So this is not my thought, but thought that some are having potentially inside and around Happy Valley. He came to a better overall talent situation.
Oh, he's a coat chaser. Don't get it twisted. I know what he is, but it's still a system. Like I lived through it. I thought he was going to knock down walls. I thought he was the second coming of Christ when he walked on. I was on the field for the spring game when he came to Ohio State.
Yep.
I'm telling you, you didn't just buy the golden pony. I'm just saying. And it wasn't like we had schlubs when he came.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he had great players when he came to Ohio State. And yeah, we emptied the chamber in defense.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I understand my relationship's tight with Ohio State, and I got nothing in the chamber. I got nothing in the gun left. I should go where the getting's good. I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to be knocking down doors like you think you are at Penn State. Also, the motherfucker never beat Michigan. Like
I said, you can bring Chip. Chip can come over.
Chip's going to go to Houston. He's going to go to be the OC at the Texans. Well, it's going to be dark in Ohio State. I'm not sitting here saying.
You hear that, Muff?
The sky is falling, Nate. The sky is falling.
I'm not sitting here saying like
we're getting rid of all the people that couldn't beat Michigan, but the sky is still falling.
I'm not sitting here being mad at Ohio State's outcome or like, oh no. What I'm sitting here saying is, Jim Knowles, you traitorous fuck. I hate you. All you cheeky bastards trying to steal what's left, fuck you. And Ryan Day, you now have 2 teams you better beat next year. That's it.
2-10, we're okay with it.
In my world, fucking right.
All right.
Quote that.
Nate, I will say that the amount of wins required for a successful season has doubled from 1 to 2.
Exactly. 1 to 2. Like they're like Ryan Day in his celebration was like, we want to go get another one next year. No. Stop focusing on that. 2 wins.
All right. Remember this day, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
The prerequisite number of wins has doubled to 2, and if Ohio State wins both of those games, Jim will be happy.
Happiest man on the planet.
All right. The rest of Columbus not so happy, but Jim,
I don't care about them.
I understand. Listen. You've made it very clear that while you may hold some of the opinions of Columbus, you do not put yourself in with Columbus fans,
No,
right?
2 wins is all I want.
All right. We
And
will
then
see what happens
following year, I might chase a national title, but until we beat Penn State, Michigan,
in the same
that's
year.
same year. That's all I want.
So for you upcoming seniors, Jim doesn't give a damn about your season.
Nope.
It just cares about those golden pants, right?
Yes.
It's all Jim wants to see. Those seniors go out with the golden pants.
Yes.
All
That's
right.
it.
You have anything else in college football you want to talk about, Jim?
It's and now I have to go to hibernation.
Well, no, but Nate, what is the special assignment that we've given Jim over the offseason here?
He's got to go be the scout for the spring game.
That's it.
We
Scout
need
for
to
the spring
bring up
game.
who's going to be the next up and coming guy to replace your guys on defense. Who's going to be the new overhyped quarterback that may or may not survive Columbus?
Right? I'm on it. I'm on it.
That's it. And the transfer portal. You'd be our transfer portal guy.
I'm on it.
And this isn't just focusing on Ohio State and Lane Kiffin, right? We need some Bill. I don't. Here, real question here. Do we think Bill Belichick is going to go deep into the transfer portal? Is he like going to be like, no, no, no,
No, he
I
can
think he
we're going
will.
to do this the right way?
No, I think he will. I think that North Carolina money is gonna bring in some guys.
I'm just really curious of how that's going to go because I could see him being like a traditionalist and being like, well, we're just going to build, we're going to go out and we're going to recruit these high school guys and we're going to figure it
No.
out. And that's how we're going to do this. Me and, what's his son's name? Steve?
Yeah.
Me and Steve were on the road. Yeah, we're just going to high school recruiting. We're going to the cafeterias and we're all eating hamburgers together. Right. I'm really interested to see this Bill Belichick situation play out.
I think it's gonna be great.
To be huge.
Huge.
All right. That brings us into other interesting news in sports.
Interesting news in sports.
We're digging deep, boys, digging deep. In baseball, we talked about this last week. Nate, give us an update on the Paul Skeens 1 of 1 card.
It has been found
Wild.
by an 11-year-old.
Who basically told the Pirates to pound sand.
Well, he's also from LA. So, of course, he's not going to take 30 years of season tickets.
Awesome.
What are the odds to get like paid out for him?
No, so apparently I saw that Bob has offered that when the Pirates are in LA this year, for the kid to come to the game, sit wherever, I guess, and then still get to meet Skeens in person.
Yeah, I thought you were say offering Wheeling Country Club.
No, that too.
Here you go, 11-year-old. Figure it out. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, Jim. You're right. Pound sand.
Yep.
Don't care about your
Even
season tickets.
the girlfriend. The girlfriend was
Livy
still
Dunn.
like the girlfriend was still like, you could still kick it in a suite. And he was like, nah.
Yeah, what's he going to do? A one-time thing, like for a weekend or whatever? It's like, no. I mean, even at 11, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go sell this thing.
Wild.
He wants to meet like Shohei or Mike Trout or somebody. What do I care?
Good for him. Good for him.
Speaking of Bob Nutting and old Mr. Paul Skeens, they officially gave out the
Sold him to the
awards.
Yankees.
Well, Jim, we're 2 years away from that.
Oh, my bad.
Listen, don't break headlines early. But Paul Skeens and Bob Nutting had a photo op together as Paul Skeens officially received his, was it Rookie of the Year, right, Nate?
Yep.
Rookie of the Year. And this could not be any more of what I would expect Bob Nutting to do in a picture with his prized possession in Major League Baseball right now. Bob Nutting looks like he is pained to be there because just by being close to this man, he's maybe developing some level of personal connection, which is going to make him feel differently when he sells him for all of the millions of dollars to the Yankees. Anybody else see this picture?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Jim will be coming to your way here shortly.
And once Jim sees it, I'm sure we will hear some type of reaction.
This guy's a clown.
He's very
Did you
wealthy
already look it
clown.
up yourself?
Did you
We
see
need
it,
to.
Jim? Did you find it,
No,
or are you
not
waiting
yet.
for Nate?
Waiting on Nate. Here it
All right.
is.
Oh,
I said
Oh,
something earlier. That's not it.
that's not it. Not it yet.
not it. Not it. Tag.
Nate, what did you do, buddy?
Well, this is coming
I'm
through
getting there, Jim.
in the hockey world.
Jim, coming to your text message momentarily.
Okay. What happened in the hockey world, Muff?
In the hockey world, Jim.
Is this guy okay?
See, told you there's gonna be a reaction.
What's wrong?
A lot, Jim. A lot. This is the man
Wow.
that moves the levers for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Like, do you think he even enjoys life?
Judging by that picture, no.
Is he from the Ohio Valley? Like, legitimately?
Yeah, because his dad is the one that founded all the newspapers.
Yeah, I think they're from that area, Jim.
He looks like an old wrestling coach.
That I can understand and agree with.
Like, he legitimately looks like an Ohio Valley wrestling coach. Like, you're not allowed to smile. It's not okay.
Emotions do not exist in
Nope.
this sport or in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go, Jim. Now you understand a little bit more, I feel.
Like, you could tell this guy his grandma died or he just hit $1 million and that face would be the same.
I think he needs to hear like I hit $500 million to get anything to move in his pants.
And he'd still be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Sir, there are 3 supermodels in your bed waiting on you. Same face.
In the hockey world, Jim, the Kraken did beat the Penguins within the past week.
I hear that's an easy thing to do, though.
I feel like those teams have that thought when any team plays them. The other team's like, I think we can get a win here, boys.
Yeah.
But in college hockey, Penn State, the men beat top 10 Ohio State twice over the past weekend, including a pretty interesting shootout victory. I watched some of the highlights. It was a 7-7 regulation game. But Jim, not just because Penn State beat them, does Columbus know that they have a top 10 men's hockey team?
No.
If they did, would they care?
If it was at the finals.
Okay. So Frozen Four is when we get in.
Yeah.
All right. This is going to be a recurring theme here. In other college sports, Penn State faces Iowa in State College on Friday as the number 1 seed battles the number 2 seed in Iowa. My prediction throughout the entire dual meet season for Penn State is they never surrender more than 7 total team points to any one team throughout the season. The dual meet season.
17 team points.
7 team points.
Oh, 7?
7.
7.
So a regular decision and a major, or some other combination.
Wow.
That is my
Throughout the
prediction.
entire thing.
Well, in any individual match, I should say.
That's what I mean. So,
Any individual match, yes, no more than 7.
so you're telling me the team score, they will not give up 7 points, anything more than 7 points.
Correct.
Whew.
That is the prevailing, not that particular take, but that Penn State's team last year is going to be overshadowed by this year's Penn State
Yeah,
team.
I mean, that is the take. Yeah, you're not wrong there, but 7 points.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's
You're
my
not
thought.
wrong.
That's my guess. I could be proven wrong this week versus Iowa, but I think they're not going to win 110%, but it's going to be interesting. But bringing me to my Ohio State take again, a
Yeah.
top, I believe, 5 team going into last weekend, Ohio State. I believe there were 4. Lost to Iowa last weekend 24-13. Jim, does Columbus know that they have a top wrestling program?
We're probably 2 weeks away from realizing it.
So towards like the Big Ten championships.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happens is when the high school wrestling hits the town or the states is typically when like we start realizing, oh, we have a wrestling team here. And then everything starts to take off.
Okay. And then by the time that's over, then it's like spring game.
Yeah. Yep. You're starting to catch the flow. I get it.
I knew everything revolved around football. I just want to
Yeah.
know if there's like these other pockets of people that realize that other things are happening.
What's crazy to me, if you're going to do this Ohio State thing, is our men's team is terrible basketball. Terrible. And we talk about it incessantly. Our women's team is like good. Not a peep. Not a peep. And if you try to have a conversation, there are some out there like, yeah, okay. And we'll blow by it. I'm just like, you make no sense, man.
Isn't your women's hockey team pretty good too?
Yeah. I think we just won like a couple national titles in like pistol and stuff.
Nothing.
Not a word. You're just like, your Ohio State fandom is really weird.
It's selective. It's selective fandom.
But like WVU, even Penn State, like you guys win national titles, it's a thing. Don't care what it is. Basket weaving. Yeah, Penn State. Ohio State, if it ain't football, fuck them.
Right. Like that's their off-season motto right there, Nate. Ain't
Yeah,
football.
if it ain't football, fuck it.
It just blows my mind.
We need to get a graphic for that. I feel like that's
I mean, Nate just sent me the thing. We're on our athletic department's at a deficit of what, 37 million?
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, it's cool. Football will save us.
Well, we won a national championship, and now we're 2 weeks later. Oh, the sky's falling. Look out!
It'll be okay. Everything will be fine.
I feel like this is like one of those things that everybody got the memo of how that money was split up amongst the team in the playoffs, but Ohio State, they're like, what are you talking about? We got like 25 million coming our way. And somebody's like, wait. That
You're
goes to
not Notre Dame.
that goes to the entire Big Ten. Well, fuck me.
Right?
All right. Tennis.
Wait, I gotta say one more thing about Ohio State. Did anybody see the guy in the Letterman's jacket during the national championship game and celebration?
Mm-hmm.
So there was this guy that was walking around on Letterman's jacket during the celebration. He was hugging on people, hugging on Ryan Day. And I was like, that must be the new athletic director, right? And I was under this assumption during the entire playoff run that this guy in a Letterman's jacket, who I had never seen before, was the new athletic director. I have found out through my sources that I cannot name on this podcast that that is the president. And that this guy wears that Letterman's jacket and only talks about football incessantly during all kinds of formal functions.
I think he's the perfect representation of your fan base.
Yeah. And word on the street is he doesn't know much beyond football.
Football.
It blew my mind
This
that a grown ass man is walking around an Ohio State team with a the patch on the shoulder is the president of the university.
come a long way from Gordon Gee, have we?
Holy shit.
I feel like if we're put it in context of like movie references, in Friday Night Lights, where there's the guy that's talking to Billingsley, and he's like, "You got to get you one of these," and he's like holding up his hand with a championship ring. I
Yeah.
feel like that's him. He's that guy.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like, you ain't
Blew
nothing
my
until you
mind.
get one of these.
And I literally was just like, there's no way. Yep.
Indeed, he is. He is the man.
He is a spectacle.
He's the president.
The president. Made me want to stop saying the, I'll tell you that much.
So it took your president to make you feel differently about
Yes.
this. I was going to talk about tennis. The Australian Open happened. An American woman won, I believe.
Ooh. Ooh. Got things on this too.
How about it?
I know a guy who bets female tennis. And I mean Russian tennis. This guy's a degenerate, right? And he walked in and told me, I'm down on tennis. Okay. I'm gonna, he's down like $120, right? He says, I'm gonna bet on whoever the favorite, the big deal woman is.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get up, I'm going to put $1,000 down
He was putting like a -1,000 bet, right?
to
Betting
get
a
his money
thousand to
back.
win like 100, right?
To get his money back.
Yeah, she
Upset.
lost. She lost. Oh
Oh
brother,
my!
how upset was this person the next day you saw them? The
I
next
still
time you
haven't
saw
seen
them?
him.
Okay,
When I see him tomorrow, I cannot wait. I will report back.
I feel like he can wait. He can wait for the next interaction you're about to have.
It's going to be great. I
Ooh,
might
buddy.
actually like interview him. It might be like a podcast interview.
It might have to be an Instagram live.
It might. It might honestly be. I cannot wait to tell you guys all about this.
I mean, I'm interested. I'm
It's going to
interested
be
to see
so
what
good.
the next step is.
Yeah,
Like if he was
I'm
willing
going
to
to
put a
tell you.
grand down to do that, is
What are you
his
going to do
next
now?
step like 5 grand for a -500 favorite?
I know. It's going to be so good, Muff. I cannot wait to tell you. Because, I mean, this is a guy who's bet on like cricket. So, like, I cannot wait to tell you what's going to happen next.
I, for one, going to be really interested. Alex will also be interested. Nate will be captivated by the tale of the man who's betting big bucks on obscure sports and favorites that we don't even know the names of these people.
Right?
I am ready for what will happen next. But all of our listeners need to continue to be ready for what's coming out next week in Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff, as we have a regular episode coming out probably on Monday. We're going to have a betting episode at some point. We're going to talk about all the Super Bowl betting fun. Nate, do you want to join for that one?
TBD.
TBD. But I know that we can only continue to grow this podcast up, 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 and away if you tell a friend, make a friend, be a friend.